Hi everybody, I'm Michael Gray, also known as Arglethump, the Nancy Drew guy. This is my speedrun for the Pagemaster, an adventure game about a boy named Richard Tyler who is trapped in the magical world of imagination and books. I call it the library. No, but seriously, this is a magical library where all the books have come to life, and we get to meet a bunch of famous literary characters like Frankenstein. And not only that, the library has this.
Wow! A real Greek amphora!
A real Greek amphora.
This place is great!
This is the best library ever. I mean, seriously, it's got a Greek amphora. Okay, so the major thing I do in this speedrun is I interact with screens before they appear, so you'll notice I have the left arrow here, and now I'm going to pick up an item before it shows up on screen. Gonna do that again here, like I'm gonna go left here. Okay, so now I'm gonna go left. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna go forward at the gingerbread house now, and I'm gonna go left to the boot now, and then I'm going to go left from the boot now. So you see how there's about a second delay in between me being able to interact with the screen and the screen actually appearing on the screen. So that is the major time saver of the run. This is actually my second speedrun for the game. I sent the first one to the helpful folks at Speed Demos Archive, and they had a couple of suggestions as to how I could improve the speedrun. This speedrun is about 45 seconds faster than the first one, so big thanks to all those people for all their help. And the number one suggestion, they said, was doing more of that predictive clicking stuff, you know, interacting with screens before they appear. Now, unfortunately, it's not as much of a time saver as it should be. It only saves frames instead of seconds, to put it in speedrunning terms. Here it's kind of a big time saver, these spots here. But pretty much everywhere else in the game, and we'll see this when we get to Adventureland, it's not really a time saver because you have to watch the animation anyway. Like, you have to watch animation of Richard walking on the screen, or the screen has to fully load. And so, in most places, clicking on a screen before it appears is not a time saver because the screen has to load no matter what. You're not actually skipping any loading, you're just putting the loading at a different time. And obviously you can move your mouse during the second or so while the screen is loading. So that's another reason why it's not the biggest time saver ever. Like I said, it only saves frames and not seconds.
Fantasy told me you were
Okay, so I should probably explain what's going on now, because you're probably confused if this is your first time seeing this game. This is Little Bo Peep. She's lost her sheep, and she doesn't know where to find them. The library is split up into 3 different areas: Fantasyland, Horrorland, and Adventureland. And I'm starting off by going to Fantasyland first, because Fantasyland has the only real RNG of the run. And by RNG, I mean there's some randomness. There's something I cannot control. All of the things in this game are, 100% controllable. They happen according to a set pattern, except one puzzle in Fantasyland. So that's why I start with Fantasyland, so I can get that one randomized puzzle over and done with as soon as possible.
I'll never get up there.
Beans.
So, with that little Bo Peep conversation, we had two things we had to do, because you'll notice we have 4 different conversation options at the bottom. We have yes, no, what, and go. What means, if you select what, the character will repeat what they just said. If you say yes, you agree with them. If you say no, you disagree with them. If you select go, it means you're just trying to get away from this character and leave the conversation as soon as possible. It also lets you skip scenes. Some scenes. It doesn't let you skip every scene.
Come back here.
Like, this scene cannot be skipped, unfortunately, because it's kind of a long scene to get all the way up on top of Mount Olympus. And then we're gonna have, and then it's going to immediately throw us into another scene with Fantasy. Fantasy being the purple book in the lower part of the screen. So, the character at the lower part of the screen, that's actually kind of a warp thing in this game. I can click on her, and she will take me right back to the starting screen of the game, the library. And I'm going to use that in order to skip 2 other scenes. Am I going to use it to skip 2 scenes? Yeah, I'm going to use it to skip 2 scenes here in Mount Olympus. So, now for the randomized puzzle. It's set up where we have these 3 characters, right? We have a hippocampus, we have Pan, and a centaur who has a shield on his butt. I don't know why that's the case. It's kind of strange. Anyway, what they do is they set up a puzzle for us. So each of these characters will ask questions of us. There are 8 questions per character, and then 2 responses per question, giving us a total of 48, I believe. So we've got about 48 things, and they are just completely randomly chosen. It's just completely random. So, you know, there's not too much of a time waster. Obviously, some questions are a lot shorter than others. But I think starting from the moment where we click on that guy right there, about 3 minutes, anything under 3 minutes is really, really good. That's a lucky time. Anything over 3 minutes and 5 seconds is bad. That is a slow time. So about from 3 to 3:05 is probably the average acceptable time that you can expect to have for this question and answer segment. And I'm going to be quiet here to show off the first question.
Ares is the god of war.
That would be the shortest question ever.
You obviously don't know your mythology. Athena is the god of war.
Ares is the warlord, all right, and a drag at parties. Absolutely no sense of humor.
Okay, so that's the shortest question, like I said, but that is the longer response to the question. The other response to the question is Hippocampus will say, for once I agree, it's Ares. And then Pan says, don't even listen to him. Aries is one of the signs of the zodiac. And obviously that response is a lot shorter than the response we got, where Pan goes on kind of a tangent about Aries being a major bummer at parties. So that's how the answers are randomized. We've got 2 different sets of answers to every question. Now, some questions are a lot shorter than others. Like, Ares is the god of war, that's a very short one. Another short question is, Zeus and Hera are king and queen of the gods, and that's what the Hippocampus says.
Don't even listen to these dolts.
But like I said, they select their answer for they select the questions from a group of 8, so you can't control which questions you're going to get. And unfortunately, I think I got a long question here.
The Trojans were defeated because of the wooden horse.
No, that's actually kind of a slow question. Now, you can select any character to answer, to ask questions. I just selected the centaur over and over and over again because he's got some slow ones. I think he's going to give us a long one about vultures here.
I'm a meat and potatoes guy myself. The yellow-eyed vulture serves a great T-bone.
Yeah, so you can see how that question is a lot longer than Ares is the god of war, and that right there was a mistake right there. I moved my mouse to the top of the screen. Whenever you do that, the game thinks you're trying to access the menu, and you know, the menu which you can use to select a new game, start game, you know, change the music volume if that's your thing. I'm actually going to do that again here. A very minor mistake, but whenever you move your mouse to the top of the screen, the game will automatically freeze. So, I mean, it doesn't cost me more than a second here, but it's still kind of an embarrassing mistake to make.
Neptune's trident.
Okay, so I get 2 items from here. One from Neptune, one from Mars. I get the golden ram, which is it's the main goal of this area. I need to get the golden ram in order to beat the game. In order to beat the game, that's why. So here I'm going to open up Zeus's lightning bolt storage by clicking there with the glasses there, and then I accidentally moved my mouse there to the top of the screen again, so Those are the only two times I move my mouse to the top of the screen. So, a little mistake.
I can take you back to the library if you'd like.
Just, I don't know. It looks bad, but that's mistake number 1 of 2 is me accidentally moving myself to the top of the screen there. Like I said, not a time waster, doesn't waste more than a second at most, but it still looks bad. So, what I did there was I warped away from that scene with Zeus, which is followed by a scene with Fantasy, so that's a time saver, skipping both of those scenes. And now I'm in Adventureland, where I get to fight pirates. So here is where you'll notice, Richard, we have to watch the animation of him walking, no matter what. So, predictive clicking doesn't really help here. Because I watch him walk, and then I watch him walk, and then I watch him walk, and here I pick up a banana.
Bananas are an excellent source of potassium.
And then I talk to this parrot. So Adventureland is the shortest land of the game. It's very, very simple. So, what I think happened there, right there, that moment, you'll notice that the game just was kind of slow and did not move. That is something that happens sometimes in this game. It's kind of unofficial RNG, you might call it. It's because I'm running this game on CD, and sometimes the CD is slow and doesn't want to move forward, and it will just take it will take a long time to move. Hey, I'm gonna make his hair blue. That's so cute. That right there, you'll notice when I move the mouse around, just the graphics glitch out, and that just seems to be the way the game is made. I don't know how to get around it. I'm not sure if that's on purpose or not. But there doesn't seem to be a way to get rid of that. Adventureland is basically me going through this maze as quickly as possible. It's mostly just mazes in Adventureland, and I just have the solutions memorized. So it's really simple. This is an easy puzzle. You have to wait for the monkey to, like, skip left a little bit. Monkey will land, and then the monkey will move left a little bit, and that's when you can interact with the monkey and use the banana. If you try to use the banana on the monkey earlier, the banana goes straight to your inventory, and it doesn't work, and you have to do that again. So back to my CD. Basically what happens is sometimes the game will just pause while it's waiting to load something from a CD. And the areas where that happens most often are, you know, the puzzle on Mount Olympus where we're talking to the characters, because there are about 50 different, you know, audio clips that the game has to pull from randomly. So that's the spot where you get the most slowdown as the game tries to load. Now, unfortunately, this game doesn't have a loading screen or anything.
Is it safe? Maybe I'd better go back.
Which is kind of a shame, because if it did, then I'd be able to know exactly when and where it's CD loading problems, and when and where it's just, no, the game is slow. If that makes sense. It is kind of a slow game. Oh well, it's still a fun game. And now we're going to go with Captain Ahab from Moby Dick. So Captain Ahab is just going to be a conversation puzzle. We say yes, we've seen Moby Dick, and then we select go to skip the following scene.
Over there, I think.
So Richard lies about where Moby Dick is, and then Richard warns Moby, you've got to get away, Ahab's looking for you.
Ahab's looking for you. You gotta get out of here. He'll be back any minute. Go on, get out of here.
Oh, she blows! A hump like a snow hill. It's Moby Dick.
So here's a fun thing. This is animation from the actual movie. This game is based on a movie. This is animation from the movie. And this is animation that was made just for the game. I think you can tell the difference in the animation quality. Yeah? So every now and then, animation like that, however, that animation is made for the game, but it's based directly off animation from the movie. And we'll see at the very end of this walkthrough where Richard does this long string of animation, which is taken directly taken from the movie. Where at the end of the movie and at the end of the game, he kind of goes on a really long rant. And these scenes we're seeing of him being angry are all taken from his angry rant. That's another thing this game does. Reuses animation. This is animation taken directly from the movie, though. You can kind of tell which animation is taken directly from the movie because it's really, really slow. Okay, so we defeated Ahab, hooray, hooray, and that gives us this golden coin, which we can use in order to get past the Guardian. So that's something I haven't talked about yet. Every single world has a Guardian right in front. So this particular Guardian wants a gold coin from Ahab. And that way, when we get the gold coin, we can use it on the Guardian and go through the gate. Now, in Fantasyland, the Guardian that we have will not let you through unless you have the letter E. It's a Sphinx. Here I'm skipping a scene with Adventure just by clicking on that thing to the left. You know, I open up the map screen, skipping the scene with Adventure, so that's a neat little skip. And the Guardian in Horrorland, we're going to see that Guardian in a moment. So that Guardian needs a key. You need a key in order to get into the graveyard. And you'll be doing things in the graveyard, which are creepy and disgusting. Oh no! We got kidnapped by pirates! No! Okay, so we get kidnapped and we get shanghaied. Yes, to use the pirate term. Yes, we get shanghaied and forced to work for Long John Silver.
I really have to go. I'm trying to find...
He wouldn't happen to be going after
So the fastest way through this conversation is to say, yes, I have your map.
Do you have it?
And, so he's going to give us the golden shears. I mean, we get our choice. We can pick one of 3 different treasures that's in the pirate treasure. One of them is a crown, I think. One of them is a jewel. But the one we really want is a pair of golden shears. Scissors. They're basically scissors. But we really want those because that way we can shear the ram, the golden fleece that we got from Fantasyland. So that's the whole point of Adventureland, is that you just need, you get an item which you can use somewhere else.
Look at all the treasure.
And that's something, oh yeah, we've got a crown, we've got a jewel. And now I'm going to skip this scene, which plays at the very end of Adventureland, or the pirates sing a song for you. And it's cute. So now I'm going to Horrorland, and I have to switch CDs. And, like I said, kind of got an old CD drive, kind of got an old game. This game is from 1994. So that would explain why it takes a really long time for me to switch CDs and put CDs in and actually get the game going again. So that's why my first attempt at running this game was not a single segment. So I'm very glad that I'm allowed to just do this speedrun in one video. It's more convenient for me and for my equipment. But it does mean we have to have these long breaks where the CD is loading. So, getting back to Adventureland. So Adventureland gives us an item which we can use in Fantasyland. And we have to do horror, because horror gives us an item that we use at the very end of Fantasyland. And that's sort of how the game is supposed to be set up, that you do adventure, then you do horror, and then you do Fantasyland, because you have items in adventure that are used in horror, and items that are in horror that you use in Fantasyland. Now, I do not follow that particular route. What I did was Fantasyland first. I did most of Fantasy, and I skipped out on it. We'll come back at the very end of the game. We'll do like the final 3 minutes of Fantasy at the very end of the game. And then I did Adventure, and then I did Horror. So that is a time saver, and people are wondering, how is that a time saver? So let me explain. Long John Silver, we saw him in Adventureland. What you can do is go through that maze and go onto his boat. And go onto his boat and look up the boat on the mast. At the very top of the mast is a monster head, which we'll use here in Horrorland. So that takes about 30 to 35 seconds to go out of your way just to grab that one item and then go back to the parrot guy with the banana. I love love that scene. It's hilarious. Anyway, oh, now we're gonna see those vultures. That was the final question we got, the long question about vultures.
Hello, what have we here?
Lovely night for a
Okay,
child,
so
isn't it,
anyway,
my
like I'm
little
saying,
boy?
so the reason I did fantasy first, it's a time saver, is because you've got the two options. The one option I just said is kind of long. Going to Long John Silver's boat and getting the monster head there is really long. It takes you like 30 seconds. So doing fantasy, option 2, getting a monster head from fantasy is a lot faster, because the monster head was all along the route that I had to take anyway, so I don't have to go out of my way in order to get Fantasy's monster head. So it's a time saver for me to do Fantasy monster head instead of Adventure monster head. That's all I'm saying. It saves like 20 to 25 seconds, depending on how quickly or how slowly you move. So it's not the world's biggest time saver, but doing things out of order in that way saves time. However, it's not the intended order. The intended order is to do adventure, and then horror, and then fantasy. So it's from right to left, according to the characters on the bottom of the screen.
I told you it was cold in flu season.
It's hide. You have to stop him before it's too late.
Don't worry, buddy. I'll stop Hyde. I'll stop Hyde. He cannot stand up to me and my Greek amphora. So here's another thing that's random. Pulling this, we get a random sound effect. That's the other spot where the game CD is likely to stop and load for several seconds because it's just pulling from a random audio file. So that is the only thing that's random besides for the questions on Mount Olympus. Besides for that, everything else in this game is scripted, and it's exactly the same every single time. So now I'm going through this maze of the Dr. Jekyll mansion, and I save time, obviously, by skipping certain things. Like, I could have gone left there. I could pick up the head that's on the suit of armor there. I could look at all of those posters on the wall. So all these things are optional. Now, one of the things that's optional that I skip is a clue for the Frankenstein puzzle about love potion number 9, which is necessary. We're actually going to use it on Frankenstein in order to stop him from being an evil monster who tries to kill everyone. Okay, and here I'm going to pick up a random thingy.
Did you hear that scream? It was awful.
A lifesaver.
That's it.
So I pick up the lightsaber, which interrupts Horror's conversation. However, we have to wait for him to finish talking, then we can leave. And these stairs, for whatever reason, you have to wait for like the walking animation to finish before you can skip ahead to the next one. So predictive clicking doesn't help here. It helped a little bit during the maze leading up to this area, not so much because we had the big scene with the dead wood forest, and then the scene with the vultures. So once again, the predictive clicking only saves frames instead of seconds. And here, you don't have to click or anything, you automatically get thrown forward to Frankenstein's area. This Frankenstein thing is kind of, you know, it's really interesting. I think it's neat.
Oops.
And as I believe I mentioned earlier, I can interact with the yes button before he finishes talking.
You better have a good reason for waking me up. Otherwise, I'm going to be real cranky.
Yeah, that was like a second before he finished talking that I could respond to him. Very strange. Which is interesting because for the rest of this Frankenstein conversation, it is super slow and we have to wait several seconds after every line of dialogue. This is especially apparent at the end of the Frankenstein conversation. So Frankenstein is mad because nobody really likes him. He wants to make friends, but everybody judges him based on his appearance.
You don't understand. I have to find Hyde. He's kidnapped.
Even though he's a well-read, thoughtful person, everybody just hates him. Poor Frank.
Hyde promised to make me look handsome. All I got to do is drink this.
No!
No, no! No, don't drink it!
And why not?
It'll kill you.
So, it's better than being alone, hated. If I'm handsome, people will like me.
You don't have to be handsome for people to like you. Just be yourself.
Okay, I need to be talking about the game instead of watching the game. Sorry, I was just fascinated by the conversation. So let me point out how slow this is.
Charming route.
1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000.
No, you'll regret it. Maybe not.
So now we have a
but
puzzle.
soon, for the rest of
What
your
we want to
life.
do is grab the love potion and use it on him. You'll
think
notice
you
we
can
woke
stop
him
me?
up by smashing one of the bottles, and he's got a bottle there, but for
I
whatever
How are
reason,
you
we
going
still
to
have
do that,
3
kid?
bottles
I'm
that are still on the
8'6",
table,
900
even though, you know, technically there should only be 1 bottle. I destroyed one, he's got the other. Maybe he got another bottle from somewhere else. I don't know. Anyway, we grab the bottle and use it on him as soon as we possibly can.
At least try this first.
And he falls in love.
I'm in love. Who exactly am I in love with?
I haven't put the pieces together yet.
I knew it was too good to be true. She doesn't exist because no one could ever love me. Unless you made me someone.
1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000, 6
I've
1000.
never built someone a girlfriend before.
1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000, 6 1000, 7 1000, 8 1000, 9 1000, 10.
Well, will you make me a match?
So there is no way to speed up this conversation. The
I think I
game
need more
always
information.
moves this slowly. It is not a fault of
You
the
can
CD.
make me a
It is
bride
just a
or
purposely
find me a
slow
bride.
conversation, and I don't
Do you
know
want to make me a
why
bride?
it's so slow. I wish there was a way to skip this conversation, but no.
Deal.
We have
But
to
you
wait
gotta
all the way
promise
until
not
the
to
end of the
hurt anyone.
conversation, because at the end of the conversation, the monster is going to give us a key.
Well,
Oh, we're not even
what are you
close to
waiting
the end of
for?
the conversation.
How
I
on
wish
earth
we,
am I
I
going
wish
to
we
find a
were, but
bride?
no. At the end of the conversation, he gives us a key. The key is going to appear in our inventory, and as
Don't
soon as that
say
happens, I
a
can warp
personal
away
ad.
from the scene. You
Almost.
have to wait for that to
Okay,
happen.
you're-
Otherwise, you warp away way too soon, and the game
Here,
forces you to
you
listen
need
to the whole
this.
conversation from the beginning again. And yeah, I made the mistake of warping away now when it looks like I have the key, but no, I do not. We have to wait there.
Should we go back to...
So, warping back to the library here is obviously a big time saver because we don't have to backtrack through that giant maze. I'm going to be warping one more time, and that's going to be skip number 1. As I believe I mentioned, this is my second major attempt at speedrunning the game. So this is faster by 45 seconds, and most of that time saving comes from me doing 2 skips. 2 skips in horror, and then 1 skip in Fantasyland, which are upcoming. But the first skip here in horror is coming up here after I dig up a bunch of dead bodies. I told you it was going to be disgusting. It's very disgusting what we do here in this graveyard. Yeah, we dig up a bunch of dead bodies, in order to make Frankenstein a girlfriend.
Stop sneaking up on me.
I'm sorry.
You're supposed to be in
Is
bed.
this
This
is
is
this
my
supposed to
next
be a
stop if you
kids
don't
game
find
or
out.
not? I'm
I
not
just thought
sure.
I'd save some time. Besides, I know all the best tunes.
Okay then, let's get to it.
So not much to say about this particular puzzle. We just need to click on all of the proper tombs, and the tombs that have body parts in the names are the ones we want, like a thumb wrister, or a mistletoe, or a leg it. That's basically this puzzle. So now I'm going to go right and click on the one tombstone here and go right again. If you click on the wrong tombstones, you get penalized for that. You lose points We've got a point meter in the upper right-hand corner. By the way, in case you haven't been paying attention, when you do a good action, you get some points. That's how the game works. And the actual end of this game, you know, when the speedrunner timer stops, is when you get the last set of points. And that's also when the Pagemaster appears in the lower left-hand corner. So both those things happen at the exact same time, and that is the official end of the game. Now, the reason for that is because the end of the game is kind of random. Okay, so I guess there's three things that are random about this game. Okay, so I wait for the music to stop, and then I warp away.
Should we go back to the lab?
So, no, getting back to the end of the game, it seems to be random whether or not the ending credits to the game play. I don't know why. Sometimes they play and sometimes they don't. And so, just because of that, we have to have the end of the speedrun set somewhere else. We set it during the last action you take, the last time you click. And when we get to the scene, you'll see why, well, you could probably guess why we don't have that specific moment set out. It's because it's a slow game and we have to wait several seconds, and we don't know, you know, what time during those several seconds you actually did click. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this thing here. So that warp right there is something which happens in all of the lands, believe it or not. The Greek Amphora, once you reach Mount Olympus, you can use the Greek Amphora to warp yourself back to Mount Olympus whenever you want. And with Moby Dick in Adventureland, you can warp to the Moby Dick area, I think the Oasis Moby Dick area, by using the water fountain at the start of Adventureland. Okay, so we still have to backtrack, or I guess it's not technically backtracking, but we still have to go through all these areas again in order to give the girlfriend to Frankenstein.
Where is she?
Right here. She's not really finished yet.
What a babe! I can't wait.
Frankenstein has low standards, I think. Yeah. So, now we're gonna give him the head. Like I said, no, the game intends for you to use the monster head in Adventureland, but you can use the monster head in Fantasyland as well.
I did it! I found the head! I hope you like her!
What a fox! But how are you going to make her come alive?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right.
Okay, so what we do is you just click on this machine to the left. We have to wait before we can click on it. It looks like you can click anywhere on that machine, any of those levers or the dials, and it works. It doesn't really matter where you click. All of those things give you the right option.
Good job.
So with Frankenstein, we have another longish scene, which we have to watch all the way through. We can't warp away from it because we need the inventory item to appear in our inventory. This time we have to wait for the letter E to appear.
Love at first fright.
Thanks for everything, short stuff. I want you to have this.
So I am going to do a time saver by skipping the scene from here. Where's that letter E?
Save me.
Here. Okay, so I skipped this really short scene. It's not that much of a scene. It's kind of short, but I skipped it. Yay, I skipped it. I went from the library to the library, so it wasn't incredibly obvious that that was a scene that could be skipped. Well, the skip was discovered, and that saves us, I don't know, like 5 seconds. It's not a huge time saver. But that is one of the reasons why this speedrun is faster than the previous one. It's because of that skip. And let me talk about the third skip that I discovered with the dragon. With the dragon, we're going to go to the dragon, and automatically the fleece is going to appear on screen. And so what you want to do is use your scissors on the fleece as soon as possible, and then after doing that, you need to use the lightning bolt on the screen. Now, you're supposed to watch a scene where the dragon turns evil and turns on you, but no, you can just use the lightning bolt early. That's all. So just use the lightning bolt after the scissors. Here's another skip. I start the conversation with the Sphinx by talking to it, and then I use the letter E on the Sphinx. Normally what the Sphinx does is it tells you its riddle. However, you know, using the letter E on it skips that riddle. Now you do have to talk to the Sphinx first. You can't just throw the letter E at the Sphinx and skip the conversation entirely that way. But by me being really fast, you know, I use the letter E on her before, I mean, after triggering her conversation, but before the conversation actually starts. So you've got a very limited time window in order to do that, and this is one of the few spots in the game. I think that's actually the only spot in the game where you can do that particular challenge. Okay, so that was mistake number 2 of the run. Was you'll notice I didn't grab the lightning bolt as quickly as possible, or as efficiently as possible. Not really that much of a time saver. I mean, not really that much of a time waster. I timed it out. Trust me, it takes less than a second because we have to watch the animation of Richard shearing the sheep no matter what. You have to watch it no matter what. I don't know why. I don't know why. But it does save time because you skip the scene with the dragon and the cup falling down the dragon's thing. So, we have a great confrontation with Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde has turned himself into Zeus, which, you know, explains a lot about the Greek pantheon. Thinks he's the Pagemaster. He's crazy. He's crazy. You're crazy, Hyde. And like I said, the final puzzle of the game, what we need to do is click on a specific book, and we don't know exactly when that click occurs because we've got a thing of several seconds. So that's why the official timer ends not with this click, but with the Pagemaster appearing in the lower left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the reason why we don't know specifically when during those 5 seconds the click occurred is because there are multiple voice clips which play during that part of the game. That's why. I mean, I skipped them by clicking, obviously, but ding! Pagemaster appeared. No, but Fantasy says, look for the books, and then Pagemaster says, look to the books, and Horror says, look to the books, and Adventure says, look to the books, and all the characters talk about looking to the books as the clue in case you can't figure out, hey, I need to click on the book in order to progress. So, I obviously skipped the scenes and solved the puzzle as quickly as possible, so I never really hang around and hear everybody tell me the clues. So that's the end of the game. This is the ending scene.
The Pagemaster!
The Pagemaster!
You have done well, my boy. You saved us all.
Sadly, you know, the Pagemaster is not voiced by Christopher Lloyd, who played the Pagemaster in the movie.
But first, what shall I do with this?
Book him.
Right you are. Now, let's find you a new
I think actually none of these characters were voiced by the people who did their voices in the movie. Yeah. Anyway, that is the end of my speedrun for the Pagemaster. I hope you enjoyed watching my speedrun. You know, even if I had long gaps where my CD loaded, I still think it's a good run. Thank you for watching.